as we reach out to those who are going to touch others. That's your blessing in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I appreciate it, brother. And I can't see all of you. I can see some of you, and that's good. I hope you can see my screen. Can you see it now? Yeah?
Yes.
All right, let me do a little switcheroo. See if this works. How's that? We in business? Yeah? Okay. So there's a fair amount on this schedule, and for those of you who are new to the call, I will just say that we have we do this once a month for a couple of purposes. One is to connect. Two is to share information that matters to everybody. And three is really to celebrate what God is doing. And so we start with that in mind about the celebrating part. And we walk through some more nitty-gritty stuff as we go. I am recording this. If you have questions, ask them. Use the text, that text box where you can submit a question there at the very top, the chat box. Use that because Derek is here helping, and we'll get to the questions as we can. But there's a lot of us on the call, so I want to make it, it's a little bit awkward to do it this way, but it's the best option we have to stay connected regularly. So ask your questions. This will be recorded. You can filter back to it later. We do have quite a bit to go through, so I'm going to get cranking for the benefit of time and start with celebrating what God is doing, because there is a ton of beautiful things happening. So the first one, last month we talked about a trip to Haiti, really a Care Portal specific trip, on the tails of Hallie having done this a couple of times and a few trips scheduled already for next year. We talked about having a trip set up for the end of October and gave the opportunity for 5 regional managers to go at no cost to themselves and to invite other people to go. And the last time I checked, I believe there are 4 people for sure committed and are bringing others. I don't know if a 5th has come on and Ryan is out of town, but I just want you to know that that trip is happening the end of October, and I have high hopes for what God will do with it. It should be the first of many to come. And I know that some people, Sarah in particular, has already scheduled her own regional trip for next year. But this is an on-ramp. This is a step into the pool. And for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, the Global Orphan Project takes 50-ish trips to Haiti every year. And God does amazing things there through the local church caring for the orphan locally. Audio's not working well. Can you guys hear me?
I can.
I can. Perfect for me.
Okay.
Yeah, phone is working well.
Phone's working well. Okay. Sounds like RB, that's you. You've been disconnected from the call. How about that? Okay. Can you hear me now? I'm quiet, but can you guys hear me now? Or am I disconnected? Chris Campbell? Can't hear me.
There are 20 parties in the conference. You will now be placed into the conference.
Sorry, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can.
All right. It disconnected me. At least it told me, so that's good. All right. Kayla, thank you for telling me that I'm back. So bullet point here is, if you're still interested in going on that trip, send Derek an email. But I'm excited for those who are going. I think Abby and Ryan and Sue, and who's the 4th person that's committed? Do we know? Katie? No. Wow. I'm disconnected. Yep. All right.
There are 22 parties in the conference. You will now be placed into the conference.
Are you there?
I'm here.
I'm here.
Oh, okay, I can hear you. Yeah.
I got disconnected again, guys.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay, if that happens one more time, I'm gonna call on my phone and turn off my camera. So we don't have to keep doing this, but some reason the connection's bad. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll try to press on from Haiti. Let Derek know if you are interested in adding to that trip. He can get into more detail with you and get you with Ryan.
Hey, Adrian, if we could, can we resend those dates and deadlines for that?
Yes. Yep. Derek, did you get them? To resend the dates and deadlines for Haiti?
I don't have them.
We'll get them from Ryan.
Yeah.
I don't actually know them either, but we'll get them.
Kathy might have them.
Okay. You're hard to hear too, Chris, just as a heads up. Okay. Chris, this is an opportunity for you and Abigail. New face on the call, new person on the team. Chris, take it away, bud.
Yeah. So, love to introduce Abigail Johnson. She's our new regional manager in Oklahoma City, and we're excited to have her on the team. She's worked with a lot of different foster and adoption agencies in the city, and so the Oklahoma City, and so we're really excited to have her a part of the team.
Dang. I've been disconnected. I'm gone. Okay, shut this down. No one can see what you're doing. Get out of here. What's the number to call in?
It is. I'll just text it to you real quick.
Okay.
Actually, I'll just tell you. It's probably faster.
All right.
404-801-3225. And when you're ready, I'll give you the login.
Okay, go ahead.
931-829-341 pound.
So, can you guys hear me now?
I won't be able to hear anything.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see my screen at all, but I got rid of my camera so that I can minimize some of the bandwidth going on here. Can you guys see my screen? Yes.
I think it's bandwidth, Adrian.
Derek thinks I need a new computer. That's a possibility, but
Because I'm on Wi-Fi and I'm full.
yeah, but I'm cheap. You guys know that. Okay, Abigail, welcome to the team. Did you say anything and I missed it? Hi. Okay. Well, welcome. I think you're coming to Kansas City on Friday, so we'll say hi some more then. That'd be great. We also have somebody else new to the team. Mike and Katie, but they're in Colorado. I don't think they're on the call. They might be having troubles. Mike or Katie, are you there? Not the original Katie.
Katie 2.0.
Yes. She is. So just to bring everybody up to speed, the way that 111 Project has engaged and really taken this to a whole new level in Oklahoma has inspired a process to be able to try to replicate that in other places. So Mike and Katie lead a ministry called Beautiful Redemption that's based in Colorado Springs, and they are much like 111 in that they're looking for a platform, an avenue, a process, an infrastructure to really further engage the local church. And praise God, we got connected. It's been a long process, but they're full speed and trying to launch November 13th. And this will be the second ministry partnership where this is happening. There are more in the works, but this is number 2, and I'm just excited that's how we're growing, because there are already people on the ground who have a heart and relationships and want to see this stuff happen. And and we're just trying to collaborate and make that more possible. So that's very exciting to me that we're at number 2 now. John Carr is not on the call, but you've heard me talk for a while that there is a bottleneck here in the central office. All this growth is fantastic, but frankly, Derek and I are in over our heads pretty consistently. And John is here to help, and in particular, he's going to be helping with the donation part of stuff and with check-in calls, the stuff that the interns started this summer. So you'll get to meet him in the future, but he's not on the call now. I also want to introduce Liz Brocat. It's not actually how you say her last name, but that's her nickname. She's behind me, which you can't see her now because I lost my camera. But Liz is here. You want to yell at them, Liz?
Hi, guys.
There she is. Did you hear that? Yeah. What's up, Liz? Good. And she's really going to be focused on something that I think you'll be excited about. You all bring ideas to the table all the time. We need this and we need that, and it would be great if we had this presentation. It would be great if we had that document. And all of that is awesome and we love it. But I'm really not good at any of that. And we need somebody who is, and somebody who can manage that process and bring things from idea to actually a tool in your hands. And so Liz is going to be hyper-focused on that particular thing. So she's not caught up in the day-to-day whirlwind. She's just focused on taking ideas and turning them into stuff. So I'm excited for that opportunity. It's good. Welcome, Liz. Texas 90 and 90. Aaron, I'd love for you to unpack this a little bit. And before you do, I just want to share that you guys all know we started this in Texas in a little community in Austin, with a handful of churches in Austin, and learned a ton in the process. Things exploded across the state. We got our nose bloodied a bit, and we're just learning. And everything we learned from Texas is applying to other places to create even a better experience. So, Aaron, if you wouldn't mind unpacking what is this 90 and 90 and how's it going?
I can't connect. I think our license is limited to 20 on the call. Because it won't let me connect to the thing.
Careful with what's happening here in Texas, and 11 workers across the state has to help us to make this happen. This Texas is such a small place, you know.
Is Mike still trying to get in?
We have the help state faith-based specialists. But the 90-90 is because we have jumped out and help several people.
When I'm talking, I want to use that as
And so many churches that had joined us, that we had a number of churches, quite a few churches that were waiting. And so the 90-90 was to get 90 churches in 90 days signed up. And so we're about 40 days into the 90 and 90. A little 40 days into the 90 and 90. And I am
Tipping.
That is awesome. Incredible. Great job, guys.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Yes. That's good. Brother, I was just going to say, you did awesome, man. That was a great update. It is super exciting, and I won't try to belabor what Aaron just said. I just want to put an exclamation point on. It has been such a beautiful thing to see the church and state partnership working like it is, and to see the churches responding the way that they are. The state of Texas is humongous, 25,000 plus churches, and we are just scratching the surface with what's possible, but this is a very good indicator of what can happen when people are rowing the boat in the same direction, and have the same heart. So I'm excited. I think it's great. I know Sue just asked the question of what you're doing. Is there a blueprint? And I don't have an answer to that. I would love for, once this kind of dust settles, it'd be a great thing, Aaron, to just deeply unpack this process, because I think other people can learn from it. That'd be great. Amen. It's good. Okay, brother, I'm going to move to next subject. Tate, would you please unpack a little bit the Grid KC, what's happening this weekend, Friday and Saturday? The big picture here is we want to have annual conferences in each state where we bring people together around this subject. Who those people are, what they do when they come together. There's lots of variability in that, but the fact that we intend to do something like this and get better and better at it is important. So Tate is doing the second one. Maybe this is the third one now. Would you unpack that briefly for us, Tate? We can.
For your state, we have one regional manager in Central Kansas that has done a grid event at the regional level, as kind of her own birthday party, so to speak, for the region. So once they launched a year ago,
Tate, I'm excited about this. I was not able to participate the first time in the poverty simulation, and so for me and my wife to be part of that on Saturdays is going to be cool. And for everybody across the country, as Tate said, if we can figure out an effective way to replicate this, there are very few churches who go through this process. It's not something that they've experienced, and God has given us an opportunity to really leverage a network as people self-select into this process of saying, we care about children and families in crisis. Well, many of them are in poverty. So how do we understand them better so we can serve more effectively? And what's God going to do in us in that process? So I'm excited to see if we can replicate this. This is the first one that Care Portal's officially kind of put on. The one that Aaron did in Texas a few months back was something that he did totally, like, he figured out how to execute it, which is great. Now we got to figure out how to duplicate it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Thanks, Tate. Mike, I see your face. Yeah, I can hear you. Thanks for joining the call. I don't think your daughter, I don't think Katie is on, is she? Okay. Okay. So, Mike, I kind of set the table a few minutes ago before I saw you. But just briefly introduce yourself and kind of give us a snapshot of what's happening in Colorado Springs.
October 17th, 18th, and then our launch is November 13th, which is Oregon Sunday. So that's the game plan. That's what we're pushing forward to, and we're trying to make a difference.
It's awesome. Welcome, Mike and Katie. We're excited to see what God does, and I'm glad, Audrey, you're able to dig in and help the Child Welfare Agency there understand what it actually is that they're signing up for and how to do it most effectively. So it's good. I appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna click on here. The next two things are highly related. What we care about here is obviously mobilizing the church, but we're mobilizing the church to impact children. And we need to celebrate what God is doing and even dream about what's possible. So the next piece here is just to say, a month ago, August 25th, I just happened to be looking at the website and noticed that we hit 4,000 children. Some of you guys saw this on Facebook, but on that particular day, the ticker hit 4,000 children impacted through local churches caring for kids through this work. And that's an amazing thing. It's awesome, and we say, yay, God. As a side note, as of today, the number is 4,600 something in just over a month. So amazing things are happening pretty quickly. And it makes us think and wonder about what's possible. What is God preparing us for? What is the scope of the work that we're here to do? What could be happening? And so as I've dreamed about this and talked to other people, somebody gave me this crazy idea that what would it be like if we actually impacted 50,000 children, if we helped the local church impact 50,000 children across the country in child welfare. Is that possible? How long would that take? What would it require? I mean, all these questions start coming up when you put a dream like this out there. And I don't know for sure that this is what God's going to have us do. But what I can do is look back at what's happened and think about, do you want us to prepare for this, Lord? Is there even that many kids that need to be served? Like, what? It brings great questions. And so I want to share with you a couple of slides that I think you could use, and I want to make available to you after this call to help paint the picture of the need that's out there and the opportunity. So if we consider the problem, this is not new information for you, but it's framed here. The problem is there are 4 million kids at any given time in the child welfare system. These are children whose families are being investigated, children who are being supported in some way or another by child welfare, children who are on the adoption list, and 400,000 of those 4 million are children who are in actually foster care. So that's the scope of the work in front of us. Those are the general numbers of what is the space that we're playing in. When we say children and families in crisis, what does that actually mean? Well, it means 4 million children and 400,000 children in foster care. That's what it means. So that's what's represented here. Yeah.
That slide
Yeah,
didn't
hold on.
have the U.S. stuff in the background. Not that it necessarily
The map?
does, but
You guys don't see a map in the background?
now we do.
Okay, it's just faint. What the current response is, you know, up until recently, the church has been largely disconnected from this actual crisis. And the government spends more and more and more money trying to solve the riddle here of how do we help these families? And so when we look at this $27 billion number, that's not the number in Medicaid dollars. That's not the number in food stamps. That's not the number in any of that stuff. That's the number spent in the child welfare state and federal budget to have employees and children in care and daily per diems and all that kind of stuff. That's the scope. That's the response. And government absolutely has a role to play. They totally do. I am not going to go to my neighbor's house who I think is abusing their child and take that kid away. I would go to jail for that. I'm not going to say I don't have the right to judge whether somebody is being neglected or not, my own self. That's not my role. I can make a phone call, though, and the government can step in and say, hey, this isn't right, or this is fine. That's a place that the church doesn't replace. But government alone isn't the answer. And all of us on this call agree with that and are working towards what we believe the solution is. And what we believe the solution is local church. In partnership with what exists out there now, there are 350,000 churches in the country, which represent 40 million regularly attending adults. Now, I'm not talking about everybody who punches the card that says they're a believer. And I'm not even saying that all 40 million of those people are believers, because if you go into church doesn't necessarily mean that. But it does mean you are committed to something. And you are committed to what the Bible says is one of our chief mandates, is to love our neighbor as ourselves. In particular, children and families who are in crisis, who are vulnerable, totally fit that mold. That's what God's asked us to do. So there are 40 million people in this country. What does that look like when you put them all together and say, this is the body of Christ in the United States? It's massive. It's a huge thing. And what would it look like if every church actually did a little? What would be possible if the regularly attending church members were caught on to the vision and the call and the ability, the mechanism, to actually care for children touched by child welfare and children in foster care? What would that actually look like? Could we do it? Yeah. Yeah, we absolutely could do it. When we think about the actual the numbers, that 4 million kids easily fits into the 40 million adults that are out there, easily fits in there. And our vision, just like some of you guys saw back at the birthday party last year with the gumballs, our vision is how do we help unleash this? How do we help make this happen so the local church can see their place and take action? That's our goal. So when we think about this solution and we think about this road to 50,000, God has given us, He's given us some favor. And if you look at the map, there's awesome stuff happening all over the country. But that's not the whole picture. The picture is much bigger than that. The picture could be way broader than that. If we look at the real data and we just do if we go from the kind of growth that we've had, over 700% in impact, to just 250% growth over the next couple years, that 50,000 number of children impacted is actually well within reach. Now, does God have to do something to make that happen? No doubt, absolutely. But what I'm suggesting is we should prepare for that. I'm suggesting that this is a possible vision for us, that this is the kind of thing that He just might be asking us to do, and we need to build the infrastructure to do it. So when we think about this road to 50,000 children, I would love it for you, each of you, to just dream about what would have to happen in my community to be a part of that over the next couple years. What would my role be? How do I unlock the church to get there? So that a couple years from now, we're having this conversation and we're thinking about the road to 250,000. Because there's plenty of children to be served, and amazing things happen when we do it. What I just shared with you is something that is the first that you've heard, but won't be the last that you've heard. We're going to build a lot of opportunity around this vision, because with a vision we can be focused. And I am not one to, I know that we're not supposed to chase numbers. I also know that we have work to do, and there's plenty of it. So let's be about this work.
Preach. Preach.
We good? Amen. All right. Now let's move on to some stuff that's not quite as fun, but necessary to get there. Okay? Housekeeping. So in the housekeeping concept, we have something that we all believe is good and right and helpful and going to be something that moves the needle in these active communities, but we don't have it clean yet, right? We haven't united in the process to actually make these things something. And everybody on the call is at a different place in actually implementing these active communities. So I first want to give a quick reminder of what is this ministry infrastructure? What's the model look like? And the image here on the screen you've all seen, but it's important to understand that if we just are chasing churches and we don't build a community level of infrastructure around them, then what ends up happening is the regional managers are doing way more work in a way less efficient way than is sustainable. That's what ends up happening. So we know that we need to mobilize the community somehow, and we're saying an active community is the way to do it. Pooling these churches together, 10 or so at a time, to develop this thing that they're part of, that they own, that they care about. That's what we're working towards. And so what I want to focus on is, how do we actually execute that? What is required for that to be effective and successful? We don't have all the answers, but we're moving that direction. And I'm going to give you some really clear vision for what this is, how it's organized, and then what to do next. So a month ago, we talked about how active communities are organized by zip code. That's a shift from where we have been, and it's an improvement. So when we think about what an active community is, you take this picture of this circle here, this orange circle, and just pretend that that's part of your city, of your community. And inside that circle, you've established that here's a zip code, and here's a zip code, and inside those zip codes, there are churches. And we're saying that you choose some zip codes to be part of an active community, and the churches inside those zip codes are automatically connected. They're going to be assigned a coordinator. That active community is going to have a name, and it will create an identity. And once a month, 7 times a year, however we work this out, there will be a gathering of those people in that active community around something. We're also saying that they have the ability to engage each other in the responding to requests process. So when we give this label of active community, it isn't just another meeting. It's actually a formal way of mobilizing and organizing people so they can do more together than they can do by themselves. That's what we're really chasing. But we got to get organized in order to make that happen. And so the first thing is to define, okay, what is this active community? Well, every church is in one zip code. If they've got 10 campuses, they might be in 10 different zip codes, no problem. But a physical location of a body of Christ is in one zip code. And every zip code is in one active community. Not 2 or 4 or 5, but just one. So when we do this assigning process, a zip code has to be assigned to an active community. And every active community only has one coordinator. Now, there might be some scenarios where it's really big, that active community. It covers 10 zip codes, and we know that that one coordinator can't do it by themselves. Well, the solution isn't to add another coordinator into that active community. The solution is to split that active community and make it more than one. That would be the process forward. So a couple things to note is an active community can have more than one zip code, and likely will right now. But over time, that will split down and down and down. And a coordinator can have more than one active community. If we need to have Jane Doe work in the north of the city as one active community and the south city as another one, because we know that pretty soon we're going to replace her in the north, that's fine. No problem. But we're not going to put 2 coordinators into the same active community, because then we're not sure who's leading, and then we're not sure the process flow here. And that's very important. So separate, one coordinator can be in multiple, and that's okay. And that's part of organizing this together. Okay? I'm going to go to the next slide, which is what your homework is. But before I do that, I want to make sure I get any questions. Okay, so here's one. Are the slides going to be available at some place? Yes, absolutely. I'll send you the PowerPoint when we're done. The next question is, community groups from zip code A, but from a church and zip code B will be in different active communities and coordinators. Okay, Katie, great question. I'll rephrase that. Some churches are having their small groups enroll. So you've got the mothership with small groups that are all over the city. All over the city. And how are we going to organize those small groups as part of active communities? This is a really important subject, and I don't have the full answer. So there's my caveat. I'm not really sure how this works long term. I think there's 2 things to consider. One is, in the short term, let's get organized around these zip codes and creating these active communities. In the short term, I'm suggesting that this community group, this life group, small group, whatever you call it, is part of the active community where their zip code is, not necessarily where the mothership zip code is. So that's step 1. Step 2, which we haven't built yet, is some way to give small groups and churches the ability to be part of more than one active community if they need to. So if there is a relational connectivity that is based on where their mothership church is, or where they have affiliations already that are outside of this active community, we've got to figure out a way to allow them to engage there. And I don't know that full answer. Several things are being discussed. We're having a meeting tomorrow afternoon where Chris will come in. Tate will be here. Aaron, unfortunately, can't make it. Audrey will be here. And we will dig into this subject a little bit. Like, what does it look like for us to go beyond the borders but still be organized? It's a great question, Katie, and I'm giving you my right now answer. Step 1, put them inside their zip code in wherever that is. That's step 1 for now. Before I get to the homework, any thoughts or questions? Okay.
Tell me if they're responsible for you guys know what that feels like to have a boundary and say, well, that's not in my area, that has to be up to you. It helps you know your lane, and it keeps us, to be honest with you, it keeps us home. It keeps us in a place of asking for help and looking for support from each other. I think this zip code structure is going to do the same for our coordinators. It's going to clarify for them tremendous their responsibility and help them know their lane, and what churches they're saying they respond to. So I'm really, really excited about it. I think it's going to get less garbage.
Am I yelling, by the way?
Always.
Right on, Tate. Right on. Okay, ready for the homework? Chris is ready. All right, that's it. Nobody else? Good.
I am not.
Derek is not ready. Derek has the most homework, by the way. So what I'm about to ask you to do, multiply it by all of you, and that's what Derek has to do, okay? So just have that in mind. And he's up for it. So you're going to get a spreadsheet. I will show you that spreadsheet in a minute. But the spreadsheet is going to be, I'll show it to you right now. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Yes. All right, so you're going to get a spreadsheet that will give you one place to clean up what you want your active communities to look like. Okay? So it's a very simple spreadsheet. We've had iterations of this in the past, and we've learned and grown, and now we have to reiterate. But I want to make it as simple as possible. So here's an example. You've got the name of an active community, the coordinator who's assigned, and the zip codes in that active community. And you will just list all of your active communities, whatever you're going to call them, who the coordinator is, and the zip codes that are part of that active community. Now you're going to need a couple things to accomplish that, and you'll get those as well. One of the things that you need is a list of all your zip codes and what county they're in, and even which active community they're already assigned to. So in addition to this spreadsheet, you're going to get that spreadsheet that shows what we currently have in the system so you can see it. You also need to know a list of the coordinators that we have in our system that are from your area. You'll get that list too. So if the other thing that you need is a map that would show you where those zip codes are geographically. So if you, just looking at this list here, you have no idea where those zip codes are. This is a link to a map that will show you exactly where they are and allow you to visualize the zip codes that are next to each other so you can put them together. So ultimately, you'll take the information that we give you and boil it down to this one little spreadsheet. If you've got more than 10 active communities, no problem, add more. I don't know that anybody does. But what we will do with this right here is we will take it and then put it into the system and clean up everything that we've got now so that on a go-forward basis, it's right. Now, are there going to be changes down the road? Yes. Are you going to split active communities? Absolutely. Is there a process in place to do that? Yes. But first we got to get clean. That's what we got to do first. For people that are in a new place like Mike, all of Colorado Springs could be one active community right now. It could be just that. Super simple.
I'll work with him.
And that will be okay. But in other places, we know that can't be the case, and so it needs to start off cleaner than that. Okay. Absolutely.
Adrian, can you hit on not to think from every church having to have a coordinator or an active community, because there will be some that don't.
Church.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's part of what I was saying.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to take Tulsa as an example. You have 100-ish churches and small groups in Tulsa. And if you just create one active community that has all of those in them, when they hit the button that says activate my community, right? Because that's part of this too, they're going to send a message to all 100 of those churches saying, hey guys, I just got this request for X, Y, and Z, and we can do the bed part, or we can do $200, or we can do whatever. Who can help? I'll take the lead. Who can help? That is part of what happens with the active community. So if you start quite that big, I think that could be a problem. That would be a concern. If you break that up into a few different ones, so let's just say we start with making 4 for the sake of not knowing what will come down the road, but we know that there's going to be more. I think that's kind of a hybrid solution for now. You create a few different ones. Could a coordinator be assigned to all 4 of those? Yes, that's possible. And I didn't say earlier, you can put coordinator needed as the coordinator, which means there isn't one yet, but we know that we're going to need one. And so we're going to plug that in at the slot for now. That's an option as well. Derek is telling me something I'm not quite understanding, but
Didn't make it up. It is.
yes, it means that first, and it means that you're focused on recruiting someone as a coordinator for that area. Good. Great question. Yes. Yeah, so if we go back to our infrastructure, what we're trying to move towards, the idea would be in a full region there's 100 churches and there are 10 active communities. That's the infrastructure goal. So that then the regional manager is really working with 10 active communities instead of working with 100 churches. Make sense? Okay. I'm showing it now. Tate, great suggestion. And I'm just plugging into Oklahoma City, Chris, since you were asking the questions. But this is how it works. You zoom in, you see your place, and it clearly shows you all the zip codes and where their boundaries are. So you can start saying, oh, okay, well, these 3 zip codes would make a great active community. These 3, whatever, however you shape it out. And so the complication here is it's both geography and volume of churches that help make up what that active community is. We're not going to nail it day one. It's going to shift and morph over time, but we got to start somewhere, and we can shift and morph it over time. Totally. And that becomes the more active community, right? And so now you've given it an identity that's based on something that kind of already exists. And now you know you're looking for a coordinator for that, and you're looking for 10 churches or so. And if it gets to the place where it's 20 churches, well, then you've got the North more and you've got the South more, right? And you split them, and we do cell replication like Tate said. Good? Okay. All right, so in your homework, completing that spreadsheet is step 1. You'll get that by Friday with all the things that you need. Step 2 is to schedule a time to review this with Derek. So each regional manager will have a time set aside where you have an appointment with Derek, where you'll share screens, he'll look at your spreadsheet, you'll look inside the system, and you will actually do the work to clean this up where you're part of that conversation and part of that process. That is the most, it doesn't seem like an efficient way to do it, but we really want to get this right, and you need individual time with Derek in order to accomplish that. And so that's what we'll commit to. I mean, that's like a lot of time from Derek, but it's what's necessary to support you, and so that's how we're going to do it. So my ask of you is to get this spreadsheet Friday, and then early next week, schedule your time with Derek for the later that week or the next week. But we should be mid-October, and everybody's got time with Derek by mid-October. That's the time frame that we're looking at. So for some of you, this is going to be a 5-minute thing. For some of you, it's going to be an hour, and that's okay. But just schedule your time with Derek before the middle of October, if you would, please. Yeah.
Another thing to think about when you get these zip code lists are going to go anywhere from maybe 50 zip codes for one manager to 170 zip codes to another manager. When you look at that zip code list, don't think that every zip code has to have an active community today. So you really have to think about your churches. Eventually, I mean, there may be no churches in a zip code. So don't think that that zip code has to be a part of an active community. Start with those that you know have churches in them, and really focus on those first. So, because the zip code list can be lengthy, you don't have to create an active community just because there's a zip code that exists. So focus your energy on where you have churches or where you see expansion, that kind of stuff. That way it really will, your time will be beneficial instead of wasting time. Sure. Yeah. No, they're fine. The communication doesn't get hung up. If they click on activate my community and they're the only church in a zip code, then there is no active community. So they click on activate my community and there's no step that they can take. If that one church needs to be part of an active community, then assign that zip code to an active community. There's no hang up. Not with active community. There's no hang up. Because there's all kinds of churches that are not connected to active communities right now, based on zip code assignment. Which is why this project needs to be done. This is what I was talking about before.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah, I hear you, Chris. Great question. And my suggestion is one of two things. Either one, don't put them in any active community for now. That's one option. So they won't be able to click the button that says activate my community. Nothing will happen then. Or two, create an active community in that geography. Because it doesn't make sense to bring them all the way into Tulsa or all the way into Oklahoma City. That's not, that there's no long-term good to that. So create their own thing. And all that would mean is if they did click the activate my community, well, what would happen? Well, the churches in that area who they're in community with, or hopefully will be at some point, are going to be the ones that they engage. And that's what we want to see happen, right? We want to see that thing happen there. Yeah, and that was Derek's point. Just don't put that zip code in any active community. Leave that one out for now. Yeah. Correct. The 5 or so is not what I'm saying, or not what Derek is saying. You have to use your discernment on where does that make sense. And you might say, fine is good. 5 is fine. Let's do that. 3 is fine. Let's do that. You might. I don't know, but that's the kind of decision you'll have to make. And that's part of why having time with Derek to walk through it will be very helpful. Good questions. That's a great question, Mike. And what will happen is, first, the worker is going to, and I know you haven't done this yet, but the worker will choose a radius of how many miles that they want the request to go out to, and that's what we'll use initially. We are in discussions about, is there even a better way to do that long term? Could that involve active communities in some ways? And we haven't landed that plane yet. People are all over the map as to where the development of their region is, but we're in that conversation. So in the short, absolutely, it won't have anything to do with the active communities. It'll be totally the radius that the worker chooses. Okay.
'Cause 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 'c
Correct.
15, 30, 60 miles. And the software does its magic and it pulls the church that falls inside that radius based on their address. And they get
Right. That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
when we change our target in your area, select this. So Kansas City is 80 miles. In Texas, it is 60. Depending on if they're in rural places or if they're in a suburban area or the population's limits.
Yeah, that's a great point, Tate. And as we talked about, this is part of growing process where we need to figure out what the next version of this looks like, and have the capacity to meet regions where they are, because not every region's in the same place as what you're describing. So the problem that you're talking about is completely irrelevant to many people on the call, but totally relevant to others. And so we've got to figure out how to navigate this space in transition, which will always exist, because there will always be new, God willing, always be new regions and new places that are way earlier in the process than where others are. So we'll get there. It'll be a good conversation to have, but for now, we'll have to live in that tension. Right. Good. Plenty of opportunity for follow-up to this. I know it's a big deal. I'm glad we're asking questions about it, because I want to get it right. And we've tried this different ways, and that's okay. We're always going to try things different ways. This is the way forward for right now. Okay, there's one more step, and because of time, I'm not going to go into much detail on it. But many of you have asked if we were going to have an interface for the coordinators, and the answer is yes. So just imagining this is the third step of this where did it go? It's not that one. Here it is. Okay, so once this cleanup happens, once we've got it well organized, once you can talk to a coordinator and say, okay, this is your sandbox, this is your active community, then giving them access to log in and actually see the active churches that are part of their active community, to be able to see that, to be able to see the waiting churches. How about that? It kicked me out. Yeah, Derek keeps saying I need a new computer. I want you to see this so that you can get a little bit of a vision for it. I'm not going to go into all the details of it. But I'm logged in right now as Lisa McNerney, who is a coordinator. We've given her a password. She goes to the website. She can log in. She can see her active churches. She can see waiting churches that are in her active community. She can see the non-Care Portal churches. So all of the churches that we got from a database that are part of that active community, there's 174 in this example. She can see them. If there's a meeting, she can call if we have a name for them. There's all kinds of capacity she has now to own her active community and to connect with the churches that are there. She'll also have the ability to look at open requests and closed requests and feedback that are there. she'll have the ability to look at all of the active communities in that region, so she can see where churches line up and who the coordinators are for those other active communities. We're basically starting a communication portal for that coordinator who will have things to do that this will be beneficial for. And when we get there, we'll have the ability for her to actually communicate collectively to those churches about whatever she wants. We'll be able to have the capacity to have training material inside of this interface for whatever she needs. And so as you're dreaming about what do my coordinators need to do a good job, this is a place, this becomes home base for them. But we can't get to this to give them access until after we clean up what the active community looks like. So when you have your call with Derek, then he'll have the list of coordinators. He'll give them a password and give that back to you. And then you'll be able to talk with your coordinators about, hey, here's how you use the interface. Here's how you see your churches. That will be the process. So coordinator by coordinator is what you'll do next as you roll this out. That's awesome, said Kayla Jones. I agree. Okay, Sue asked a question. How do you schedule the time with Derek? Send him an email. I forgot to ask that, but just send him an email with what works for you. And you guys will go back and forth to set it up. Great point.
Who will train the coordinators on the interface?
Yeah, the regional managers will train the coordinators on the interface. That's what Derek just asked, and that's who will do it. You'll get trained on it, and then you'll show them. Okay. I know that was a lot. That's really important. I'll go through the rest of it pretty quickly. The What's New page, or the What's New section here, if you'll notice, the template that I'm using is different than I've used in the past. We'll send you this template. You'll also get those slides that I just walked through. Audrey, your presentation for child welfare has already been shifted to this new template, so you'll get that pretty soon. You're very welcome. Thank you, Liz. Yeah. See, that's the kind of stuff Audrey's been asking for like 4 months, and you know. So, yeah. Okay. The Manager Digest. Oh, so the Faces of Care Portal videos. Some of you know that these exist already, but they're so cool. I want to make sure everybody knows. Here they are. Okay, so inside the church resource spot on the website, there's all kinds of goodies. But if you haven't already, watch these videos. They are role-based. So it's a 2-minute testimony from the regional manager's perspective, or a ministry partner's perspective, or a point person's perspective, foster parent's perspective. These videos are awesome. They're very well done. And on Friday, we're going to do more of them. So this section will grow. And I want to encourage you to use these as a communication tool specifically. So if you're having a conversation with a pastor who can't get his mind wrapped around what's it like for a church member, or what's it like for a point person, or needs to see the passion in a foster parent's perspective of how this blessed them. If you're talking to other ministries that are interested in this space and you want to hear about it from a ministry that's already involved, this is how we can communicate that. So think of these as not shotgun, but as sniper kind of resources that you can use for people. I know it's kind of gross, but it's the best I could come up with. Okay? The other thing I want you to notice is that if you're part of our team and you're a woman, you can be Asian or white. But if you're part of our team and you're a white guy, you have to be bald and have glasses. There's just no other option, because that's just how we roll around here. So that's good. Anyway, I humor myself. It's good. Okay. Manager Digest email. That's out and rolling. Have gotten great feedback. There's some things that obviously we can improve, but it's saving your inbox a ton. Hopefully you're enjoying that. It's good. Yay. There will be a very similar Coordinator Digest email being developed. So when a request goes out and any coordinator who we have in the system who is assigned to an active community, well, any churches that got that request, that coordinator will see a digest very similar to what you guys see, which will also give them the ability to activate their community from that email. Okay, so the church can activate the community from the church perspective. The coordinator can activate the community as the coordinator for that active community. That will help a ton in getting work off of your plate for facilitating this kind of stuff and really put it where it belongs, which is the coordinator. Ultimately, you invest in them, they invest in the community, and that's how this can scale. The coordinator interface, we talked about tier 2, 3 process. We're running long on time. Can you give a 2-minute on this or less? And no, he can't do less than 2 minutes, so he's going to punt. I think that's what's going on. Okay, so here's where we are. We, as of Monday, are relaunching the ability for Tier 3 functionality to work, Tier 2 and Tier 3 functionality to work, and it will be used in in Kansas City on the Kansas side, and a couple of counties where they already have a process built up that we've been working on for a couple of years with them. That's the short story. I'm going to Oklahoma City next Friday to engage leadership in child welfare there to bring this concept to them and see what tweaking we might need to do to make it work. The big story here is we're not very far away from having the technological capacity to do Tier 2 and 3. What that then means is we need to have the relational capacity to actually implement it before we implement it. So if the technology is set, then each region will have to spin up on, is this agency ready? Are the churches ready? How are we going to roll this out? That will be the way we go forward. And my hope, pray with me, that we can actually do that prior to the end of the year, that we would have other places be able to start implementing Tier 2 or Tier 3. Again, there's two components, relationships and technology. Technology can scale, the relationships have to develop. And that's where you guys are so critical in the process. Okay. Church giving letter. I think there's somebody writing a question. It's not popping on my screen anymore. That too is awesome. Right on, Kayla. Katie asked, did Tate just get fired? No, he didn't get fired. He's going to have to quit if he wants out. So I don't think you can. All right. The church giving letter. I'm going to camp out here for just a minute, and then I will send it to you so you have it. Big picture, we know the ministry needs to be sustained by churches giving. We know that. We talked about it a lot. It's built in our process. What we haven't done a good job of is giving them a clear roadway to actually give. There hasn't been a clear way to follow up. If I'm rating myself, us in central office and our execution of this, it's like a C-. That's where we're at. Well, we're taking a step forward in making it not a C-, and it starts with a letter that will go out to all the church pastors around October 10th. It'll be a letter that tells a story and gives them exactly what the need is. We're using a bit stronger language than we used before to let them know that, hey, this is kind of like an expectation, but if you can't give, no problem. And if you can give to help support other churches, absolutely we want to give you a way to do that. The same spirit that we've been talking about, give $100 a month if you can, less if you need to, more if you're able. That same thing is what's in the letter. It's just the most formal way that we've gone about following up and asking churches to give. And so that will come out. You'll get a copy of the letter a little bit later after this call. And if you have thoughts, let me know. We've noodled this around in lots of different brains and feel very good about the direction. It might generate some people saying, well, I didn't know anything about this. I hope that's not the case, because we've tried to communicate it on the front end. We've tried to have the implementation process share with them that this is what we need. We've just never really made it formalized and really said, guys, we need you to be part of this. And so the language we're using is almost like a membership commitment that is optional, right? That's the language that we're using. If you can participate at $100, great. If you can't, okay, you can still participate. But you need to know that's our budget, right? That's how we're operating. And that's the thought process behind it. That will be followed up with a couple of emails. One email to the point person, because they won't get this letter. We're only sending it to the pastors because we don't have point people's addresses. We only have church addresses. So it'll go to the pastor. An email will go as a follow-up to the point people. Another email will go as a follow-up to the pastor. So we'll be communicating this. Then, mid-October-ish, we'll cycle back into our check-in calls. We'll start with the people we haven't called yet, and they'll have received the letter, they'll have received the emails, and now they're going to get a phone call with 5 different questions about how things are going. One of those questions will be about their financial giving, and it'll be an opportunity for them to say, hey, I just got this letter, and what the heck are you guys doing? Or, I'm so glad you sent us this letter. I thought we've been giving. We haven't. Thank you. Or whatever. There's going to be all kinds of feedback. But we'll be able to capture that feedback as we make those calls. That's our process as it stands now. Yes. That's our process as it stands now. When you see the letter, you'll see that it has impact in it. It has story in it. It has a clear way to ask them to give to support other churches if they can. It's the most clarity that we've had so far. So I'm excited about it. I just want you to have a heads up to it. And there will be a PS on there from you, the regional manager. So near the bottom it says something from you, and your name will be on there. So I absolutely want you to know what's on the letter. Good? Good. Any other thoughts or questions about it? Okay. What's needed? It's still a very long list. I'm not going to read everything on here. I'm just showing you this so that you know we have lots of work to do. We're aware your ideas help. Keep them coming. And we will keep working on this list as fast as we can. But we're committed to making things better. There's a lot of work in front of us. That's the purpose of this. Sue's asking me, is in her county, churches are not receiving a notice when the request is closed. The last couple of days there's been a glitch, and they're working on it. I don't know if it's working now?
Andy's working on it.
Oh, Andy is working on it. We know that the glitch exists. It's not that they're not receiving it. It's just showing the wrong reason for it being closed. That's my understanding. But it's on his radar, and he's working on it. Oopsie, wrong button. Okay, before we close out, again, celebrating, this is the most opportunity I get to look at your faces, and it excites me for sure. The team continues to grow to the point where we can't all fit on one slide anymore. We've bumped onto the second slide, and who knows what it'll be like a month from now. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. You are part of something that's bigger than you, and I believe completely in line with the heart of God. He wants us to be part of it, but doesn't make us be part of it. And so it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. And you guys have said yes, and I'm grateful. I'm excited about what we talk about a month from now, and to see who's part of this crew. Oops. So we have gone past my hour and a half. I apologize for that. It was a very good discussion. Are there any other thoughts or questions that could be relevant to the team that need to be discussed? Okay, we're good. My homework assignment is to send you the letter and to send you the link to this this training so you can watch pieces of it you need to later, and also the actual PowerPoint. Your homework assignment is to, when you get the spreadsheet, follow up with Derek. Do it, follow up with Derek, ask him whatever questions you need to, and let's get the active communities cleaned up and rolling. And I think that's it. Yes? Okay. Mike, you're brand new to the team, but Pastor Mike, I'd love for you to close some prayer. You be okay with that?